But that lady, that new press secretary, she's a
that video, dude.
She's a gangster. They're prepared. And you know why they're prepared? Because they're trying to play gotcha.
Yep.
So she played gotcha with them. She checkmated them.
She came in there with that Elon Musk flamethrower.
Play that video.
Watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years.
It finally happened. Karoline Leavitt, fierce, fearless, and fed up, just launched a legal bombshell straight at The View. A jaw-dropping $500 million lawsuit is now hanging over the heads of the liberal daytime talk show queens like a storm cloud full of subpoenas. This isn't some petty squabble, it's a declaration of war. When someone publicly trashes your name on national TV, don't be shocked when you clap back with a lawsuit the size of a small country's GDP. The moment that sparked this fire, it wasn't a slip-up. It was a targeted attack. Whoopi Goldberg sneered, "She said there will be no wokeness here. That really pissed me off." And just like that, the gloves were off. Whoopi even added her usual smug insult. Without wokeness, you wouldn't even have your job.
I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah. I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
That's not just a jab, it's a threat wrapped in moral superiority. And Karoline? She wasn't having any of it. Then came the ultimate low blow. They dragged Trump into it again. She's probably only there because Trump thinks she's a 10. The studio audience giggled, but Karoline didn't. She fired back with everything she had, starting with a mountain of legal paperwork. She's not just fighting for herself, she's exposing the media machine that's been steamrolling conservatives without consequence. The View didn't expect her to fight back. But she did. And how? Karoline isn't backing down. Not now, not ever. She's calling out the show for what it has become, a pit of scripted outrage instead of real conversation.
Absolutely not. Let me be unequivocally clear about that. And watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies that they have spewed. These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC should wake.
And the timing couldn't be more perfect. Just when The View thought they were untouchable, Karoline turned the cameras around, shining a spotlight on their lies, exaggerations, and non-stop attacks on anyone who thinks differently. The View has turned into a liberal fortress where truth gets twisted into political theater. Enter Joe Rogan, truth teller, podcast king, and cultural watchdog. From his studio full of kettlebells and chaos, he saw right through the nonsense. Joe didn't mince words. He called Karoline a gangster and praised her fierce preparation.
But that lady, that new press secretary, she's a gangster.
That video, dude.
She's a gangster. Have you seen that video?
You've never seen someone more prepared for a question in your life, Jamie.
Have you seen that?
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about?
Small point on that. Not the big point, but small point. She was so prepared for
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, she's supposed to be prepared.
That's why I
Jamie.
said you've never seen someone
You know
more
why?
prepared.
For that,
They're
for that
prepared.
specific question.
You've never seen someone more prepared in your life, he shouted, slamming the table with excitement. While the ladies of The View clutched their coffee mugs and labeled Karoline dangerous, Joe was laughing. He knew what was really happening. This wasn't danger, this was courage. He stripped away the fluff and said what many were too scared to admit. This lawsuit wasn't weakness, it was power. It was a direct shot at a media empire that's gone unchecked for far too long. Joe's take? Simple and savage. You don't get to destroy reputations just because your ratings are crashing. He nailed it. And then came the segment that lit the fuse. Joy Behar, Whoopi, and Sunny Hostin tore into Karoline without mercy.
You heard that type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about.
Not one question, just a wall of insults, disguised as morning banter. They didn't debate, they attacked. It was a smear campaign wrapped in studio lights and polite applause. But Karoline wasn't going to be their punching bag. Joy Behar stood tall, called Karoline dangerous, and grinned like she dropped a bombshell. Dangerous? For believing in the Constitution? For standing firm in her values? If that's dangerous, then common sense is now a criminal offense. Whoopi sat back, smirking with her usual blend of spiritual babble and passive insults, acting like she just floated down from Wisdom Mountain. But she didn't see Karoline coming. And Sunny? She dusted off her law degree like it was a party trick, trying to explain the rules of defamation like she just Googled them backstage. It was embarrassing. Then they went after Joe Rogan. Huge mistake. Joy mocked his audience and said he believes in dragons.
This is the most important part. This is right after she was saying, we are run by ABC News. You should trust us, not Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. So she by saying we should trust them because they're double checked by ABC News, and then making the stupidest fucking statement.
Rogan responded with laughter, fury, and a verbal flamethrower. Joe Rogan saw the truth. He knew Karoline wasn't running away. She was running the show. This lawsuit wasn't just about damage, it was about drawing the line. The View had mocked and twisted stories for years, always protected by a fake sense of moral high ground. But Karoline flipped the script. She walked into their house, faced the fire, and came out swinging with legal documents instead of insults. Joe said it best. This isn't journalism, it's daytime drama in disguise. A courtroom circus with laugh tracks and hot flashes. While Karoline was preparing evidence, Joe was losing it with laughter, probably knocking over a mic stand in the process. He saw this for what it truly was, performance art without the talent.
So Joy Behar went after Joe Rogan on The View, and he fired back spectacularly.
You're worried about losing your job, and you're worried about podcasts taking over, and who's the source of news, and we said Donald Trump was Hitler, but half the country disagreed with us, and he won, and this is and Joe Rogan believes in dragons.
Karoline didn't just stand up, she stole the spotlight. She's not just surviving the smear campaign, she's thriving in it. While The View tried to paint Karoline as the villain, Joe Rogan saw her for what she truly is, a fearless warrior who refused to play their game. And when she clapped back, she didn't do it with hashtags or a pity post, she did it with legal firepower. Karoline turned their gotcha moment into a courtroom showdown. She wasn't rattled, she was ready.
They're prepared. And you know why they're prepared? Because they're trying to play gotcha.
Yep.
So she played gotcha with them. She checkmated them.
She came in there with that fucking Elon Musk flamethrower.
Play that video. Play that video.
Her lawsuit came like a thunderclap across liberal media, loud, shocking, and impossible to ignore. And Joe? He applauded it like it was the finale of a gladiator match. As The View scrambled to defend their narrative, Joe sat back, sipping his mushroom tea and watching the chaos unfold like it was the Super Bowl of media meltdowns. While Karoline's legal team likely formatted lawsuits in Comic Sans just to add insult to injury.
If you ask people, even in the legacy media, even the Trump haters, they will tell you the approach has been much different. Not just from me, but the entire White House. Oh, absolutely. They come in my office every day and they'll admit that off the record. Oh. Maybe not on the record, but they will say they appreciate the access and the transparency and the preparation that goes into my briefings, and everybody on our team, by the way, who goes out to the camera.
Joe was still laughing because he knew what this was. It wasn't just a lawsuit, it was cultural revenge. Rogan called it exactly right. This wasn't a meltdown, it was a move. A strategic play against the shrieking machine that has mocked, bullied, and twisted the truth for years. The View always plays the same game: attack, play victim, then demand applause for their own confusion. But Karoline didn't follow the script, she tore it up and rewrote it in bold letters. Joe Rogan didn't just laugh, he endorsed her war cry. He understood that this wasn't about feelings, it was about facts. And facts are what The View always seems to avoid. He said their show was like a bachelorette party of bad opinions and broken logic, and he wasn't wrong. Watching them dissect politics is like watching toddlers trying to fix the economy with finger paint. They weren't ready for Karoline. They thought she'd stumble, but She was more prepared than any guest they've ever faced.
Very strange show, but it's fun to watch. It's just fun to watch them.
It's good entertainment.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly.
Well, they're just, it's interesting because I think Sunny is very intelligent, but she's ideologically captured.
Right.
That's what I think. The other ones, there's a couple of the other ones don't have to name any names. Who are just very dull-minded. But I think Sunny's not one of them. I think she's smart, but
she flipped their smug questions into a legal reckoning. As Joe put it, they tried to play gotcha, but she brought the flamethrower. That's not just a win, that's a complete wipeout. And while Joy Behar continued to shout into the void, calling Rogan dangerous and Karoline uninformed, the rest of America was watching a new leader rise from the smoke. This wasn't about a single segment. It was about years of smug dismissal and liberal groupthink finally catching up with them. Karoline was the reckoning they never saw coming. Joe didn't stop there. He went full scorched earth. This is what happens when daytime TV turns into a menopause convention with no facts, he said, cutting through the nonsense like a knife. He even added, they scream misogyny when they're challenged, censorship when they're criticized, and bravery when they quote Wikipedia without blinking. The hypocrisy was out in the open. Karoline, unlike them, didn't hide behind applause signs or curated claps. She stood alone and dared them to respond. And when they did, she responded louder with the full force of the law.
People want us divided, and they aren't just here in this country. They're foreign adversaries who are infiltrating our social media because it is prudent for us to stay that way. So when you see something that really pisses you off, you should triple check that one.
Yeah. But I think that's why people like our show, because they know that we are checked by ABC News. But
We're checked by everybody.
Yeah. I mean, if we're wrong, we have, the legal note here.
The human legal.
But we went from Walter Cronkite basically to this guy Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. I checked it. He believes in dragons. He believes in dragons.
Did you triple source that?
Yes, I did.
It wasn't just a pushback, it was a power shift. For once, The View wasn't dictating the headlines, they were the headline. And Joe Rogan made sure the world noticed. Even legacy media had to admit Karoline's preparation was unmatched. Behind the scenes, they whispered, she's not just tough, she's terrifyingly competent. And that scared them. Rogan saw that too. He said, even Trump haters admit she's on another level. And when Joe Rogan says that, people listen. As Karoline took the fight public, the media machine began to panic. This wasn't the easy target they thought she'd be. This was a hurricane of strategy, confidence, and legal might. And Joe, he poured gasoline on the fire with every podcast, laughing, ranting, and tearing apart the nonsense with every breath. He even mocked the audience at The View. Those people aren't even fans, they're paid to clap.
Oh, their audience is not really their audience. Their audience is a group of people they bring in to watch television shows. I don't know if you've ever seen audiences before for TV shows, but a lot of them are paid. They're paid to be there.
He said. The studio full of pretend outrage was suddenly exposed. Rogan joked, the real fans of The View, most of them probably can't leave the house.
Arguably, like, the real fans of The View that are like, oh, these ladies are on point. Most of those people can't leave the house. Like, they're probably immobile.
Right.
And the internet exploded. His commentary was brutal but honest. This wasn't journalism, it was cosplay with coffee mugs and cue cards. A fake court of emotions where facts are optional and outrage is guaranteed. And Karoline? She's not chasing clout, she's chasing justice. She's not interested in screen time, she wants accountability. Rogan declared. She's not playing their game, she's flipping the whole table. And he wasn't exaggerating. As the lawsuit gained traction, The View went into panic mode. Legal notes started flying, statements were rewritten, and apologies hovered. But Karoline wasn't accepting any of it. She wanted the world to know. You don't get to destroy someone's name and walk away like it never happened. Not this time. While The View scrambled to cover their tracks, Karoline stood taller than ever. She wasn't shaking, she was striking. And the media elites? They didn't know what hit them. This wasn't just about hurt feelings, it was about reputation, honor, and standing up to the TV bullies who've hidden behind applause signs and studio lights for far too long. And when Whoopi dragged a bakery into the mess, yes, a bakery claiming they canceled her cupcake order because of her politics,
Whoopi Goldberg's, like, did you see what she did to that Staten Island bakery?
Yeah.
No.
Crazy.
What?
So
She ate
Staten
everything.
Island Bakery, their boiler went down, and she placed an order of cupcakes for her birthday. And they
It's like,
couldn't
hold
do
on,
the
hold on,
order.
hold on, hold on. I can't imagine yet how this would go bad. Okay, go ahead.
So she places this order. They say, we can't promise you that we can do this because our boiler is down. So we can't fulfill this order. And so then the next day, the boiler's back up. She has someone else call the same bakery, and they get the order in because now the boiler's up. She claims the reason why they didn't take her order is because they didn't like her politics. And so she says this on The View. So then the bakery has a press conference where they say, we've been in business for 150 years. This is not what happened at all. We don't discriminate against anybody regardless of anything. We just had a problem with our boiler. And she's singling out a family-run business. And then there's a line around the block for the bakery.
Things took a wild turn into full-on farce, stunned to be pulled into a political food fight over pastries. And suddenly, Whoopi's tantrum became national news. Crowds lined up to support the bakery, while The View looked more ridiculous by the minute. The court of public opinion wasn't buying the drama. Joe Rogan didn't hold back. He roasted the entire saga like a campfire in chaos. "This isn't democracy," he said. "It's daytime court cosplay." And no one could disagree. While The View preached inclusion, they excluded every opinion that didn't match their script. Karoline called them out and instantly became public enemy number one. But Rogan, he laughed harder. He saw Karoline for who she really was, a storm in heels, walking into their echo chamber with facts, fire, and a legal team ready to rock. And every time The View tried to play victim, Rogan shredded their act with one-liners and blistering honesty.
He's going to hunt you down. He's going to find out what's going on, and that's good. That's good for everybody. That's how you should be looking at this.
"It's not civil discourse," he said. "It's reality TV with subpoenas." He painted the scene perfectly, a circus of talking points, a henhouse full of outrage, a panel of hosts playing group therapy while pretending to be journalists. And Karoline? She wasn't just fighting back, she was flipping the spotlight, torching the script, and rewriting the rules. With every court filing, she turned their mockery into momentum. The View answer for everything it had dished out over the years. Loud voices, twisted facts, and smug attacks finally met their match. And in the end, while Joy fumed, Whoopi whined, and Sunny scrambled for legal notes, Karoline Leavitt walked out of the chaos not wounded, but victorious. Because in today's America, where outrage is currency and truth is rare, one woman dared to rise above the noise and say, "Enough." And Joe Rogan? He just sat back, sipped his mushroom tea, and whispered the final word with a grin. Legendary.